1, 2, 3.
Just gonna leave it.
Okay. 1, 1, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear it?
Just gonna leave it.
Yeah, it works. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Does it work? It's okay? It's working. I can hear it. Okay.
Okay.
The wire have to go in? No, that's fine.
That's fine. You're on. So we switch you off.
Yeah, this way.
Good.
Dear colleagues, I ask you to take your seat, please. And I sincerely apologize for the delay. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I call to order the 7th plenary meeting of the 4th session of United Nations Environment Assembly. We will begin this afternoon by taking a moment to remember the victims of Ethiopian Airlines flight ET302. Ms. Joyce Msuya will lead us through this moment. Joyce, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, and colleagues. As the UN Environment Assembly comes to a close, we want to dedicate some time today to honor the people who lost their lives in the Ethiopian Airlines crash. We will forever remember the commitment and dedication of those who are no longer with us. Sunday's horrific accident was first and foremost a strategy for the family and friends of the people whose lives were cut short, but also it was a tragedy for the UN delegations and the environmental community. We may perhaps only take small comfort in the fact that this great loss galvanized rather than distracted our vital efforts. I would like to invite representatives of the delegations of the 36 countries that suffered such a tremendous loss, joined by a representative of the United Nations, to light a candle in the memory of our friends, colleagues, and compatriots. Thank you. Thank you.
Dear colleagues, thank you for joining us in commemorating those who were not able to be here with us today. We will now resume with the last plenary. This session is divided into two. First, we will start with a wrap-up of the high-level segment of the UN Environment Assembly. During the wrap-up, we will first listen to 3-minute summaries of the leadership dialogues, the multi-stakeholder dialogue, the Science Policy Business Forum, and the Cities Summit. After the summaries, we will conclude with special messages from people from various backgrounds. Hopefully, their words will strengthen our commitment to act. After these, I will then submit to the Assembly the Ministerial Declaration for adoption. Now it is my honor to invite Mr. Felix Dodds, Adjunct Professor, University of North Carolina, to provide the outcomes of the leadership dialogues. Mr. Dodds, you have the floor. Please consider that the microphone will be switched off after 3 minutes.
Thank you very much for inviting me to address today. And thank you, Excellencies, and Joyce, for today's, for the leadership dialogues. I'm sorry, my text has disappeared, so I'm just pulling it up. That's why I'm playing it. Dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure for me to deliver the outcomes from this dialogue. We had 3 leadership dialogues that, to some extent, had a common thread amongst them, which was that we needed, in order to succeed, a substantial shift in sustainable consumption and production patterns. It needs to occur in all countries. Leadership Dialogue 1 looked at the environmental challenges related to poverty and natural resource management, including sustainable food systems, food security, and halting biodiversity loss. We know that the world is at a crossroads. Resource use, environmental degradation, and climate change are being driven by food systems suffering from unsustainable consumption and production patterns. The 2030 Agenda and the Paris Climate Agreement have given us a roadmap. We are already witnessing a mega trend in biodiversity and ecosystem loss that ultimately are impacting on human health. A transformation of our food systems has to take place that develops integrated, innovative solutions that link implementation that is favored to farmers' livelihoods, the environment, and health occurs. In Leadership 2, life cycle approaches to resource efficiency, energy, chemicals, and waste management, we heard that life cycle approaches provide the systemic perspective necessary to force and focus on the key levers of change, and they address potential trade-offs linked to alternative solutions whilst helping to address market distortions and economic signals. We heard about the benefits of life cycle approaches and how they can be scaled up through strategic decisions such as institutional procurement, both public and private, and investment that can boost the transition towards sustainable consumption and production. The digital transformation is an important enabler for the necessary changes connected to life cycle approaches and the circular economy. In Dialogue 3, we heard that many governments are at the forefront in creating enabling conditions for the uptake of sustainable business practices and promotion of innovation. To scale up adapted business practices, we would need to align policy frameworks, funding mechanisms, and infrastructure to achieve this goal. We need a strong and coherent policy framework to boost innovation and new technologies and better jobs. Innovative technologies can help overcome infrastructure gaps, especially in the context of Africa, and help avoid locking in unsustainable and inefficient infrastructure. This discussion that we had here in Dialogue 3 will move now to the forum for the UN Multi-Stakeholder Forum on Science and Technology and Innovation for the SDGs, which will convene in New York in May. And lastly, I'd like to thank those ministers and high-level delegates and speakers who participated in all of the dialogues and UNEP staff for their support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodds. I now invite Dr. Leila Akaroglu to present the outcomes of the multi-stakeholder dialogue. Please consider that the microphone will be just for 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. So it was agreed yesterday that there is no one single definition of a sustainable lifestyle, but there are definitely pathways that we can all help enact to bring this into reality. It was agreed that there needs to be systems redesign, that we need to engage more of our youth and young people. We need to activate more of the citizens who are responsible for the actions that reinforce unsustainability. And of course, we need social innovation and the promotion of well-being. These key areas boil down to one fact, and that is that we can all create a chain reaction of change if we have the courage to help make that happen. And that environmental issues must not just be presented as simple things that don't connect to us all. Instead, we must present them as tangible, actionable, and implementable. But also, we must remind each of us that we are all part of nature and need it to survive. This will help us bring about lifestyles of not just sustainability, but also well-being for all. Because, of course, we need to encourage people from overconsumption areas of the world to underconsume more, but we also need to think about the design of the infrastructure and the services in emerging economies so that we can move into a future with sustainability at the forefront of our design and policy implementation. There is no one stakeholder who is responsible in this system for making sustainable lifestyles happen. Unfortunately, it will require all of us. And that is of citizens changing their behaviors and making new social norms. That is industries having the capacity to design for the circular economy, and governments making sure that we open the pathways so that sustainability becomes a normal part of all of our lives. Innovative solutions must also be based on increasing values and be dedicated to creating overall positive social and environmental change, and not just allowing technology to measure success on the economic benefits, but also the global benefits that we will all gain if we help to conserve the natural systems that sustain us all. Fundamentally, it was raised that we have designed a system that prioritizes profits over human and environmental well-being and health. And that as long as we continue to externalize the environmental impacts of our actions and disconnect our consumption choices from the destruction and inequitable use of all of the other species that we share this planet with, we will continue to perpetuate this problem. And for me personally, I would just say that no one should wait for their children to be responsible for solving the problems that they created. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like now to invite Mr. John Liu, Chief Scientist and Director of Science Division of UNEP, and Mr. Harry Verhaar, Head of Global Public and Government Affairs of Signify Philips Lighting, who will jointly speak on the outcomes of the Science Policy Business Forum. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. The Science Policy and Business Forum brings together a diversity of communities to work together to promote innovative solutions for the environment. The second edition of the forum called for a collective leadership of all these communities working together, and also has transformed itself from only a platform to add the function as an incubator to support the program work of UN Environment Program. And I would like to ask my colleague here to list these key outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So on sustainable energy, the forum partners call for adequate ambition level and initiatives in 3 areas. So one is to double the renovation of existing infrastructure. Second, to accelerate the transition towards electric mobility. And to combine this with support for sustainable public procurement, actually driving the better decision-making that is so much needed. Then to do that in conjunction with the development of integrated policies for efficiency, renewables, electric driving, and digitization, as this will give faster and better outcome, as well as also create the green jobs that many countries aspire. And then also to combine this with public leadership, and particularly 2 programs we are proposing, a net zero carbon public building commitment, and also the adoption of electrical vehicle program for governments and ministries, so that actually that car fleet transitions to becoming electric. This creates jobs, and we think importantly, it will also increase public engagement, so take some of the doubts away with our citizens, so that they see that we're actually taking the lead. In parallel, also business is working on the same initiatives. Actually, we as a company have such programs in place. So I think combined with this leadership, we can guide whole society to a better future. Then next, we have launched a sustainable food system workstream to further drive the agricultural transition. And there we will work together with the relevant UN institutions, business associations, as well as scientific communities and organizations focused on food. Thank you very much.
I would also like to add that we have launched the working group on big data and frontier technologies working group, and also green technology startup initiative, and also the citizen science platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I now invite Mr. Marcin Krupa, Mayor of Katowice, Poland, to speak on the outcomes of the Cities Summit. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished guests, I have the honor to share with you a summary of the first ever Cities Summit at UN Environment Assembly, organized by the UN Environment Programme, UN Habitat, ICLEI, UCLG, the Global Task Force, and Cities Alliance. It gathered mayors, governors, ministers, representatives from local and national government around the globe, and was marked by strong enjoyment of private sector. This was an important moment, recognizing the role of local action, both because cities cause 70% of greenhouse gas emission and resource use, and because 70% of infrastructure that we see in 2050 is yet to be built. Local and national leaders have demonstrated vision and action, and the City Summit was the testimony to the many efforts underway. We were making progress, but not fast enough and not yet at the scale needed. Private sector participants made it clear that they not only have the technologies ready for development, but that they stand ready for cooperate. Public-private partnership have already proved to bear results. Much emphasis was put on the need for integration. The International Resource Panel report, Weight of Cities, tell us that reduction of up to 55% in greenhouse gas emission and resource use is possible by optimizing system and synergies between buildings, mobility, energy, and urban form. But the integration is not only at the level of technology. Integration is needed at different levels. At the level of government, each actor needs the best use its jurisdiction in close coordination with the sphere of government. At the level of policies and planning, we need to integrate infrastructure and land use planning and make great use of nature-based solutions. And at the level of finance, combining different streams, public and private. We saw factor critical for success. Critical for success. A strong vision and ambition target based on the data and SMEs. Engaging communities and the private sector in planning and policy making, engaging local governments early on in national policy and strategy process. Capacity support for local government to structure bankable project. New financial instruments such as green bonds and guarantees to overcome lack of credit worthiness. The City Summit provides a financial opportunity for peer-to-peer to exchange on what has worked and what hasn't. I allowed to find new partners, and it brought to the fore concrete ideas that we will explore further on our way to the UN Secretary General's Climate Summit in September. Taking us from COP24 that
Thank you very much, Mayor Krupa. Thank you all for your summaries. I am happy that all these different events have contributed to success and greater inclusivity of the Assembly by not only engaging policymakers, but also the private sector, stakeholders and local government authorities. I now was informed that Egypt is requesting to take the floor for intervention. Egypt, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you for giving me the floor, and my apologies for interrupting the proceedings. I can be extremely brief. We had called for the floor immediately after that heartwarming commemoration, and it's simply to thank you and everyone for organizing that commemoration for which many victims have fallen, including 6 Egyptians, out of whom 2 interpreters, Mrs. Esmat Ornasa and Mrs. Suzanne Abul Farag, were victims. We are confident that UNEP, in its wisdom, will find an appropriate manner by which, of course, to acknowledge those who perished en route to UNEA, including those from the interpreter services, whom we certainly consider to be part of our global diplomatic family and environmental community at large. I thank you.
Thank you. And now I welcome Ms. Musonda Mumba, who will be moderating the special messages segment. Ms. Mumba, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Are we here? Okay. So great to be here. This afternoon, we've been in the corridors, we've been having discussions, we've been in plenary, and having a lot of exciting conversations. As we come towards the end of UNEA, we're going to show you the highlights of the last few days. Congratulations. Change begins with you. You are supposed to be the change you want to be to solve different. These next 5 individuals I'm going to present here are individuals who are personalities, ordinary individuals who are doing the most extraordinary work to be the change they want to be and the change they want to see within their communities. Dr. Joyita Gupta is a professor at Amsterdam University, an accomplished academic who actually was the lead author for the IPCC report in 2007 that won the Nobel Peace Prize. She's an amazing woman who is going to tell us a lot about the work on the Global Environment Outlook 6, which she is currently the co-chair. Dr. Gupta is just this wonderful human who brings together a lot of topics around climate change, environmental issues, social issues, really from a human perspective. Dr. Gupta, over to you. Welcome.
Delegates and colleagues, our Earth, caring and sharing. Our land and fresh water is more or less limited, but our population and demand keeps increasing. Our reserves of minerals and metals are limited and decreasing. In the future, we might find more, but our demand and our waste keep increasing. We use 100,000 chemicals per year, 90 billion tons of resources. We change land use. We use land for meat, grains, and biofuels. Meat uses 77% of our land, and we even waste 33% of our food annually. And all this leads to a drop in biodiversity. We even engage in the illegal buying and selling of endangered species. Our sinks are limited. If we want to achieve 1.5 to 2 degrees centigrade, we will have to probably leave more than 80% of our fossil fuels underground. We are crossing global to local boundaries. Here you can see fossil fuels still showing residues in water in Ecuador, but fossil fuels also have long-term impacts. And so, since we are crossing local to global boundaries, and we're using more than one Earth, we are in trouble. All this causes 1/4 of the world's health problems. Disasters over 10 years killed 0.7 million people, affected 1.7 billion people at a cost of about $1.4 trillion. In 2016 only, environmental disasters displaced 26.2 million people. Indoor and outdoor air pollution has killed prematurely 7 million people at a cost of probably $5 trillion in welfare losses. Degraded land affects 3.2 billion people, causing losses from between 4 to 20 trillion US dollars. Dirty water causes 1.4 million deaths every year. And 90% of the disasters are related to water, and they are most often also slow onset disasters. Chemicals lace our water. Oceans provide 31 billion people with fish and livelihoods for 58 to 120 million people worldwide, and this is increasingly at risk. Biodiversity loss affects our food security. Pollinators, valued at around 200 billion US dollars per year, are declining rapidly, also affecting our food security. And zoonosis is 60% of global infectious disease. So, what are the drivers of an unhealthy world? Well, the most common known driver is population growth and the graying of people. But beyond that, we have urbanization. We expect 66% of the world's people to live in cities by 2050. And consumption will go up because cities have people who consume more. On the other hand, the efficiency will also go up. However, 30% of the world's urban population live in informal settlements and do not have access to basic resources. Growth is another driver. While growth enhances the well-being and welfare of people, it is also often accompanied by inequitable distribution. The rich often pollute more worldwide. The poor often face the existential threats. Technology enhances our lives and livelihoods, but technology can also often be risky. And climate change, well, climate change is already a driver. In recent years, it has caused damage of around 300 billion a year annually. So, it is getting late, but it's not too late. The good news, states can lead. We have a lot of research to show that even though national to local governments are most often reactive, they can create the conditions for change. Treaties have reduced persistent organic pollutants and ozone-depleting substances. They have led to the establishment of protected areas. The global seed vault is keeping our seeds safe. Germany and China are using renewables without losing on GDP. Norway has reduced tolls and taxes on electric cars, and their electric car fleet is increasing. Nigeria and China are experimenting with green bonds. Bangladesh, Eritrea, Kenya, India, European Union are all trying to regulate plastics. Chile has successful territorial use rights for fishing, and Canada has successful individual transferable quotas. In fact, a $1 investment in water and sanitation services can lead to results of more than $4. At global level, if we want to achieve 2 degrees centigrade, it will cost us $22 trillion, but the returns will be much more than $50 trillion. The good news in terms of industry is that industry can innovate. The solar industry provides twice as many jobs as the coal industry in the United States. Waste recycling can be a huge market, almost delivering $410 billion and much more in the future. Digital technology and smart meters can save us $270 billion in avoided electricity infrastructure. Industry is innovating in the supply chain. Industry is engaging in comprehensive reporting. And industry can, if it wants, decarbonize, dematerialize, and detoxify. The good news, bottom-up initiatives are increasing worldwide. We have a climate co-op. We have examples of plastic waste footprint calculator that calculates what you're using every day. We have urban farming, citizen science, green roofs, Youth Ki Awaaz, which talks about storytelling to youth, Swapaholic, which is about swapping clothes when you get tired of it, DIY waste management systems, and for centuries, our indigenous people and local communities have been looking after our biodiversity. So, the good news is there are context-specific pathways to a healthy planet and healthy people. However, we will need to share. We have a growing inequitable world with 1% of the population owning as much as the remaining 99%. The rich pollute more, whether in the south or in the north, directly and indirectly through their investments, their savings, and their pensions. The poor are much more vulnerable, especially to existential threats. We will need to make rules regarding how we share this earth. Caring. We need to take action. We will need to address 3 systems: the food system, the energy system, and the waste system. I've been hearing in the corridors certain sentences which I will use here. On food, unpack less, peel more, meat light. On waste, use what we can reuse, buy light. Energy, pedal more, drive less, sunlight. And business will have to innovate and also perhaps sell less. This calls for state leadership of the circular economy. A healthy planet is good for healthy people and also good for the well-being of this earth. Perhaps states have to adapt and adopt the precautionary principle. Perhaps states will have to question how exactly we calculate GDP. Ladies and gentlemen over here, dare to lead, dare to care, dare to share, dare to regulate, and dare to change. Geo6 provides the evidence. We all have to do our part. We have to go forth and subdue. No, not subdue. Save the earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joyta. Thank you so much. Dare to change. This next speaker dared to change, using some very innovative way of actually using plastic, a plastic bottle. Shadi Rabab is from Egypt, from Luxor, and Shadi is going to be speaking in Arabic. However, he's going to share something which is very universal and very clear to all of us. Can you guess? Can you guess? Music. Because music is a universal language that brings us all together. And also something that is so precious to him, and he has been working with young children, and he was the Young Champion of Earth for 2018. Shadi, over to you, and he'll be speaking in Arabic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. شرف لي أن أكون هنا اليوم. الكارثة البيئية والتغير المناخي هو أكبر تهديداً لحياتنا اليوم. وبالتالي إنها ليست صدفة أن واحدة من أكثر الحركات الاجتماعية نمواً واتساعاً اليوم هي الحركة من أجل العدالة البيئية. التأكيد على مسألة العدالة ونحن نتحدث عن القضايا البيئية هو أمر جوهري. لابد أن نعترف بأن الفئات الأكثر فقراً في العالم كانوا ولا يزالوا وسوف يكونوا أكثر تعرضاً للتأثيرات السلبية الناتجة عن التلوث. لا يمكن إقامة عدالة بيئية دون قدرة الناس على اتخاذ قرار وحماية وتوزيع الموارد بطريقة ديمقراطية. حلول الكارثة البيئية سيداتي سادتي ليست حلولاً تقنية فقط، بل هي حلولاً سياسية وروحية. يجب علينا تغيير قواعد إعادة توزيع الموارد. يجب أن ننتقل من الطاقة الملوثة إلى ديمقراطية الطاقة، من المحارق ومقالب النفايات إلى صفر نفايات. يجب علينا إعطاء فرصة أوسع لدور الفنون في التأثير في أرواح الناس. مشروعنا في رباب الأقصر يسمى موسيقى القمامة، وهو في صعيد مصر. نحن لا نمتلك الحل السحري لمواجهة قضايا البيئة، ولكن مشروعنا يستهدف 40 طفل من سن 12 إلى 16 سنة، وأصرينا على أن يكون نصفهم من الأولاد ونصفهم من البنات، وأن يكونوا من خلفيات دينية مختلفة. نحاول أن ننشر الوعي البيئي بينهم وفي محيطهم بطريقة إبداعية، من خلال إعادة تدوير النفايات لخلق آلات موسيقية ثم العزف عليها لتكوين فرقة موسيقية وخلق مقطوعات موسيقية من آلات القمامة. لم نكتفي بذلك، ولكن عن طريق اللعب والمرح حاولنا أن ننقل لهم بعض القيم الاجتماعية والإنسانية. قررنا أن نستخدم الموسيقى كأداة لجعل الوعي البيئي أقرب إلى قلوب الناس. الموسيقى من أجل العدالة البيئية هي وسيلة لتحرير الأرض والأرواح والإطلاق العنان للإبداع والقدرة على التغيير. إننا نمتلك أقل القليل من الدعم المادي الاستثماري في هذا المشروع، ونحن نريد الاستمرارية لكي نخرج 100 طفل صانع وعازف آلات موسيقية من القمامة سنوياً، والذي سوف يغير الكثير في وعي الشعوب، وسوف تتبدل قيمة القمامة من السيئة إلى الجميلة. إننا بحاجة اليوم إلى استخدام كل إبداعنا البشري لإيقاف المصير المروع الذي يواجهنا وهو التغير المناخي. إنني أتحدث الآن لغتي العربية وتسمعونني بلغات مختلفة، ولكن الموسيقى هي لغة واحدة يمكن توصيل أكثر القضايا تعقيداً في أبسط الطرق. لذا أدعوكم أن تشعروا بطاقة هذه القطعة من القمامة التي نغوص في الملايين منها يومياً. شكراً.
Shukran, Shadi. That was amazing. Does someone want to try? You can check with Shadi later. Thank you so much. The next presenter is an innovator, a creative, an architect by background who decided to take up carpentry to really figure out how to cut wood, is a manufacturer based here in Kenya, a woman who is an educator and also looking at circular economy. How can you be a change maker and make things that come from a circular economy? Shiro Waithaka, over to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute honor to be here this afternoon, and welcome to Kenya. I don't have any slides to share. I want you to listen with your heart. I want you to close your eyes and visualize the Kenya you see. Most of you are experiencing air conditioning. You had cars with air conditioning. You came in cars with tinted windows. The conference rooms are so nice, I could stay here the whole day. Next time, please don't do that. I hope my government is in the room somewhere, and all policymakers. I'd love you now to open your eyes and travel with us in Kenya without tinted windows, so you can see the filth we have created. You can see the waste we're talking about. Please open the window so you can smell the stench of the chemicals from the factories that is making products that we use every single day. The clothes you wear, the phones we use. No offense to any of the manufacturers. I'm a manufacturer as well. But it's about time we spoke the truth. It's about time we understand that the diseases we're suffering from have been created by the stuff we're trying to stop. Our children in Kenya are dying from conditions they have no idea. We're talking about subjects they have no clue, yet we're trying to protect their future from a problem we have created. I am unapologetically passionate about my country and my continent, not because of the wild animals, of the beautiful fabric, the beautiful ladies, no, because of the potential we have as a country. I'm an artist, I see it as a canvas. We can now each take a paintbrush and paint from each of the countries we represent and change this narrative of poor Africa. We are not poor, we are rich in resource. It's just being mismanaged. The heat, somebody talked about solar. We have it every day, but you need to experience it to understand what you can do with it. I have experienced this as a business. We're a small business, but not in mind at all. There's a ban on timber in Kenya, on logging. It's a problem. So it took us 3 months last year to decide it's either we survive or we innovate. We are now using waste generated by all of us in this room to make the most amazing furniture, which I hope you've all seen around us this week. It's not because we are a developing country. It's because we've had so much waste put in our markets. If any of you here knows Kenya well, we have Gikomba market, the second-hand clothes market. It's one thing having second-hand clothes, but it's another thing knowing the pollution generated while making those clothes. Please stop using it as a dumping ground, saying you are helping dressers. We were okay traditionally being barefoot, less clothing, and then somehow we're talking about less is more. We used to do that. Traditionally, the Maasai lived in manyatas. They didn't have fridges or need for aircon. It's hot. We need to learn from the traditional building techniques. We need to sit at the table with the different perceived, traditional, undeveloped parts of the world to solve for the same problem. We cooled our food without electricity. Does anybody know that? We did. We didn't need to be talking about energy as we do today. We were not wasteful. We lived in communes with our families. We shared. The circular economy is based on the way we did things traditionally. My dear people, let us sit in the same room, at the same table, with what we perceive as developing countries, traditional methods. We specialize in teaching children about their tomorrow. Please have younger people in the room. It's amazing what they can tell you. My children always say, please tell us what you're saying in child language, and we will understand. We need to help them because we have almost, it's not too late, we have almost destroyed their future. We need to stop that. I beg you, please, policymakers, make it illegal for your government officials to travel with air conditioning in their cars. Make it illegal for them to sleep in an air-conditioned house. Make it illegal for them to sleep in a big house. Maybe then, when the shoe or sandal pinches them, they may understand why the stench is killing us and exactly where it's coming from. Only then will circularity and sharing be a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Shiro. Circularity. The next speaker, Solitaire Townsend, is going to talk about optimism. We all feel a bit upset and then just suddenly just slump in our chairs and say, well, you know, actually this earth might just tip her off the edge and we'll all die. So we might as well continue using plastic. But is that the way we should be? She doesn't think so. She says we need to be optimistic and act for the sake of the future generations. She's an amazing woman who is an author of a book entitled The Happy Hero. Check it out. Amazing. And she's going to talk about optimism and action around climate change. Solitaire, over to you.
Well done. Oh, I don't want to follow that. That was amazing. My name is Solitaire. Thank you so much for letting me be here. I also want to quickly say thank you to the Future Fashion Now people who've been running the Sustainable Fashion Showcase and who decided I was badly dressed and so dressed me today. I do not usually look this good. I want to thank all of you in this room. I also want to, of course, acknowledge the incredible people who actually did not make it to this room. You are all people of courage, of compassion, of conviction, and it is an honor to be amongst people like you. Have you noticed how many times I've said people? Because that is the theme that I want to talk about. Because we say we're here to talk about the environment, but let's be honest, we're not. We're here to talk about people and our decisions and how our decisions have shaken the environment and how the environment is shaking us right back. Today, billions of people across our world are taking trillions of decisions, and those decisions are affecting our living planet in ways big and small. Now, those decisions we now know need to change, and in fact, over the last few days, we've had an incredible amount of evidence, particularly from Geo6, which we heard from, around exactly how those decisions need to change. We now know in intricate, precise detail, and particularly in PowerPoint, how our decisions need to change. But is that how human beings work? Are we cost-benefit analysis, rational, logical thinkers? Or are we emotional, complicated, confused thinkers. Could I have my next slide, please? I would argue that not everybody in this room thinks like a machine. We don't all think like the left brain, creative, rational people. We are messy. We are complicated. We have endorphins and cortisol, these extraordinary chemicals in our blood, which make us angry and sad and stupid and argumentative, and that lead us to take decisions that do not operate in our best interest. Now, is there anything that can link up these two sides of humanity, the logic and the magic? I would argue it is stories, storytelling. No matter what culture you come from in this room, I bet that you tell your children stories. In fact, I bet that you tell your children stories before you teach them about facts, because it's stories that help us make sense of the world. And in fact, stories, the neuroscientists are telling us, actually help affect what outcome we're going to get. If we tell ourselves a story of success, we're more likely to be successful. If we tell ourselves a story that we're going to fail, we're more likely to fail. So what story are we telling ourselves about right now on the environment? Now, I've got a master's degree in Shakespeare studies, and I can tell you, from my knowledge of Shakespeare, there are only two stories. There are happy stories, and there are sad stories. There are heroes, there are villains. There are utopias, there are dystopias. So within this environment, which of these two stories are we telling ourselves? The story that we can solve it, or the story that we are doomed? I decided to check. And so in 2017, I asked the global research company Ipsos to survey 21,000 people in 26 countries around the world and to ask them, are they hearing more about the solutions or the problems of climate change? And you can see up here, people around the world are overwhelmingly hearing the problem. That means we are telling them the very true story of climate chaos. But we are not telling them the equally true story of renewable energy, of regenerative agriculture, of public action, of grassroots change, of indigenous knowledge, of circularity, and of community transformation. We're telling them the problem, but we're not telling them the solution. Now, I wanted to know what impact that is happening on my fellow human beings. And so we also asked Ipsos to check, for the first time, to ask people around the world whether they are optimistic, pessimistic about our opportunity to solve climate change. And you'll see the majority still believe, at least a little bit, that we might be able to solve climate change. The majority are soft optimists who think we might. You also have the pessimists who think we could, but we won't. They're kind of techno-optimists and human pessimists. We have what we need, but human beings are crap. But what struck me the most was the 14% of our fellow human beings who are now fatalists. These are people who think we are doomed. The opportunity to combat the greatest environmental challenge of our generation has passed. They have given up. And these fatalists are more likely to be young. 22% of under 35s are now fatalists. In some marketplaces, that's up to 39%. Now, these young fatalists are not the young people who work with me. They're not the incredible youth champions we've heard from here. They're not even those angry young kids who are out on the streets today in the climate strike. By the very fact those children and those young people are raising their voice, it means they still have hope. No, these fatalists, these young fatalists, these are the silent. These are the people who have given up, the young people who believe that they don't have a future. What's that doing to their ambition? What's that doing to their drive to contribute to society? And most crucially, what is that doing to their mental health? We have to change our story. We have to be able to give a sense of hope and a belief that it is still possible to take action. And we have to give everybody a role. If this is just about powerful people, we're going to fail. This must be about people power as well. So this is why last year, with the wonderful folks at the One Planet Network, Futerra developed the Good Life Goals. We took the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, that is you guys' responsibility, and we turned them into individual actions all of us as people can take. Because we deserve to be the heroes as much as you. Everybody deserves to be part of this change. In fact, to change everything, we are going to need everyone. Now, we've heard a lot about young people over the last couple of days. We've been inspired by them, we've been pushed by them. And I've been feeling, what's my role in this? I'm 45 this year. I am not a millennial or a Gen Z. I am not a bright young thing. I am not a future generation. I am not the future, but I damn well am the now. You are all the now. We are all the people right now. We are the tired, busy, overworked, overstressed people right now who get to decide whether those future generations have a future of hope or of fear. Whether you are young or you are old, you are the people right now who are getting to take that decision. I want to call this the solutions century. We already have the answers. I've heard them over the last few days. From policy to technology to behavior, I've heard all the solutions. We have the opportunity to start this solution century and our children and our grandchildren to solve it. So I beg of you, please, become defiant optimists. Be defiant in the face of environmental destruction and optimistic about the solutions and share the solutions as much as you share the problem. Be defiant in the face of destruction and optimistic about the ability for restoration. Be defiant when you feel your fear. And the best way to feel your fear is to fucking do something. The best way to deal with angst and anger is to take action. I'm sorry, I was told it was cute when British people swear. So I want to leave you with this passionate plea based on all my knowledge of psychology and behavior change. That if we want to save life on Earth, we have to believe that that is possible. Thank you so much for everything that you do, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Solitaire. Thank you. And yes, you can. Storytelling, the power of storytelling. And now, I give you a young person, youth. Rebecca Freitag is from Germany, and she's been part of the UN youth delegation, who's actually been going around Germany encouraging youth around sustainable development goals. And here she is to share with us the story of our planet and what young people are trying to do around the world. And she came to Kenya to try and reach out to other youth here in Kenya. Rebecca, tell us.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you someone you have been talking a lot about the past days. It's planet Earth. I have some good and some bad news for you. Okay, the bad news first. Planet Earth is severely sick, and there's no planet B. I'm telling you this because based on the outcomes of UNEA 4, I think you haven't really realized that. The diagnosis is pollution of plastics, pollution of toxic chemicals, deforestation, climate crisis, and so on. And the cure that you are offering here is like healing cancer with antibiotics. So I am asking you, why have you knowingly destroyed our beautiful planet? And I'm not accepting any excuses because you had all the science, you had all the knowledge, and you still haven't acted according to that. And now you're leaving this mess to us. My generation, our generation, is fed up. And this is why we are quite inspired by a young lady. She's called Greta from Sweden. We pause school on Fridays, and instead we go on the streets and we remind you on your responsibilities that you have as decision makers of today. Be it coincidence or destiny, I don't know, but today it's the closing day of UNEA, and today is also the Global Climate Strike Day. There are more than 120 countries and more than 2,000 cities where students go on the streets, they are angry at you, and they are worried about the future. Look at that. I will show you quickly a video on how it looks like.
Children around the world who are striking for the climate and for their future. There are tens of thousands of children around the world who are striking for the climate and for their future. Until the politicians act on the climate and give us a future.
The movement is growing so fast, and we are everywhere. We are all over the world right now, and we need to get bigger, grow more.
Okay, and as I'm talking to you right now, it's also happening right in front of the UN in the Karua forest, and this is what they want to tell you.
We are currently at Karua Forest because we want you guys to act now. What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now!
Okay, I'm telling you, it's a whole generation that joins forces and stands up. It's a global movement, and it is just the beginning. So I'm warning you. We are 50% of the world, but we are 100% of the future. We are many, we are creative, we are yeah. So I think you don't really want to make enemies with us. If you don't want to lose our generation, then win us by including us. Don't negotiate without us, because it's our future, and we don't have the time until we become the delegates in the room. So finally, I come to the good news. The good news is that our generation is ready to be the adults. We are already beginning to live sustainably, with less meat, more cars, more recycling. What we want is a world where renewable energies are the new normal, where we have fair prices that include environmental damages, where we have more fish than plastic in the ocean, and a world where our children don't have to go to the museum to know how a lion looks like. So this is now the time for you to act. I urge you to commit to the ministerial declaration that you are about to adopt. I think the next years will go down in history, because either we have ruined this planet or we have filled it with life again. And wouldn't it be nice if you tell your grandchildren, well, you know, back then at UNEA 4, it was the beginning of a transformation towards a climate-friendly, a carbon-neutral, a plastic-free, and a sustainable world. Thank you. There's one more thing. I also have a personal hero, and she also would like to tell the delegates of UNEA 4 something very important. It's Greta.
Hi, my name is Greta Thunberg. I am 16 years old and I'm from Sweden. Some people say that we are not doing enough to fight climate change, but that is not true. Because to not do enough, you have to do something. and the truth is we are basically not doing anything. Every day that passes without real action is a failure, and every year that passes without bold changes is a complete disaster. According to science, we need unprecedented changes in all aspects of society to take place, starting today, and yet you continue to look the other way. This is why hundreds of thousands of students from all around the world are school striking for the climate. And we will continue to do so until you make sure that we are in line with the Paris Agreement and the IPCC report.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you to the end of our very special messages, and really now I just leave it to you to look at this declaration that you've crafted and really taking this message forward, especially for the future generation, because we cannot leave a sick planet. Thank you so much and all the best, and I hand over to the President of UNEA.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, after listening to the previous statements, it is clear that the world is asking us to act, and that the youth of the world are telling us in many ways that we are running out of time. Distinguished ministers, I now turn your attention to the draft ministerial declaration of the high-level segment of the fourth session of the United Nations Environment Assembly, as contained in document UNEP/EA4/L1, circulated by the Secretariat last night. Does the Assembly wish to adopt document UNEP/EA4/L1, Innovative Solutions for Environmental Challenges and Sustainable Consumption and Production? Document UNEP/EA4/L1, Innovative Solutions for Environmental Challenges and Sustainable Consumption and Production is so adopted. Dear colleagues, and in particular, Ministers of Environment, with this document in our hand, we are committing to go back home and within our respective national circumstances, act on the priorities of the declaration. We are also committing to deliver to our people tangible results that can be shared, measured, and reviewed in our respective countries within the next years. Now I open the floor to those member states that are requesting to make a statement in connection with this ministerial declaration. I request you all to be brief in your interventions. And now I give the floor to the United States of America.
Thank you, Mr. President. The United States expresses its sincere gratitude for the leadership and vision of President Kistler and his team. Their tireless work over the last year and a half has made this entire proceeding a success. We are deeply grateful. Thank you. The United States recognizes that marine plastic pollution is an important and growing issue, and that urgent action is needed to reduce the release of plastic into the environment. We know that many member states are taking ambitious action to reduce plastic pollution, and that the private sector is working to provide innovative solutions at all parts of the life cycle to reduce the amount of plastic that reaches the environment. We are pleased to see the problem of plastic pollution, particularly in the marine environment, being taken so seriously. However, we do not believe in a prescriptive approach where we target a specific product type because it is the subject of regulation in some countries and with no consideration in this body of the associated environmental consequences. We support reducing the environmental impacts from the discharge of plastics, and we further note that the majority of marine plastic discharges come from only 6 countries in Asia where improved waste management could radically decrease these discharges. We believe there are numerous ways to achieve our common goals. The language in question asks us to endorse the approach being taken in other countries, which is different than our own. We therefore disassociate from the prescriptive language in the declaration of reducing single-use plastic products because that language fails to recognize the variety of ways to reduce these environmental impacts. Similarly, we disassociate from the reference to low-carbon economies because we believe the context needed to be broader to cover all types of emissions. We believe this is especially true for key air pollutants such as particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur oxides that pose serious health risks across the globe. We fail to understand why it wasn't acceptable to reference all types of emissions. We value the active participation and effective engagement of all, including indigenous peoples, in achieving sustainable development. We hope, going forward, member states will focus on our common goal of environmental protection rather than prescribing the method with which we should meet those goals. Thank you.
Thank you, USA. And now I give the floor to the Republic of Congo.
Yeah, now. Merci, Monsieur le Président, pour la parole que vous accordez au Congo, la République du Congo. Nous remercions donc tous ceux qui ont œuvré pour l'aboutissement de cette déclaration. Et nous avons une préoccupation, c'est au paragraphe 5, le point E, que nous pensons qu'il va falloir peut-être reformuler de la manière suivante. Nous mettons en œuvre des mesures durables de gestion et de restauration des paysages pour lutter contre la perte de la biodiversité, la dégradation des sols, la sécheresse, l'érosion et la pollution des sols, la désertification et les tempêtes de sable et de poussière. Parce que tel que c'était présenté avant, donc il y a un petit flou, donc c'est mal formulé. Donc si on peut prendre en compte cette proposition faite par le Congo, je crois que le texte sera complet. Merci.
Thank you very much. The translators will take note of your point in the French version of the text.
If there are no other requests for the floor.
I see no other requests for interventions, so thank you very much for your remarks. And now I wish to turn your attention to agenda item 3, credentials of representatives. As you recall, during the opening of the plenary, we deferred agenda item 3, credentials of representatives, to this closing plenary to allow sufficient time for the Bureau to examine the credentials of representatives and submit its report to the Assembly. In this regard, allow me to invite the Chair of the Credentials Committee, Vice President Mr. Felix Wertli of Switzerland, to make a report on credentials of representatives in attendance of the Assembly. Vice President Wertli, You have the floor now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. It is my pleasure to report on behalf of the Bureau on the status of credentials to the fourth session of the United Nations Environment Assembly. The Bureau has examined the credential of member states submitted in accordance with Rule 16 and 17 of the Rules of Procedure of UNEA. As of March 14th, formal credentials issued by the head of state or government or by the Minister for Foreign Affairs have been submitted to the Executive Director of UNEP by 96 member states. Information concerning the appointment of the representatives to the Assembly has been communicated to the Executive Director by means of a cable or a telefax from the head of state or government or the Minister for Foreign Affairs, by means of a letter or note verbal from the mission concerned, or by means of another form of communication by 75 member states. 22 member states have not communicated to the ED of UNEP any information regarding their representatives to the Assembly. Since adoption in the Bureau of the report on credentials, additional credentials in formal form have been received today from 4 member states. The Bureau recommends that the fourth session of UNEA accept the credentials of the member states. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. Does the Assembly wish to take note of the report? I see no objections. It is so decided. This concludes consideration of Agenda Item 3. And I now wish to turn the attention of the Assembly to Agenda Item 5, International Environmental Policy and Governance Issues. As you may recall, this agenda item, together with outstanding proposals considered by the Committee of the Permanent Representatives, was allocated to the Committee of the Whole. I now invite the Chair of the Committee of the Whole, Vice President Fernando Coimbra of Brazil, to present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished delegates, thank you again, Mr. President, for giving me the floor, and thank you for entrusting me with the work of the Chair of the Committee of the Whole of your Assembly, of our Assembly. I am very pleased to report to you that the Committee has successfully completed its tasks and concluded its work on Wednesday, 13th of March at 8:40 p.m. Altogether, we held 6 plenary sessions in the course of 3 days, in which we considered the 19 draft resolutions and 2 draft decisions that you entrusted the committee to consider, in addition to the 7 draft resolutions and 1 draft decision already endorsed by the open-ended meeting of the Committee of Permanent Representatives at its meeting 4 to 8 March, under the very able leadership of the Chair of the Committee of Permanent Representatives, Her Excellency Madam Francisca Achiete Odunton, and her fellow Bureau members. The committee was assisted in the work by 2 working groups and 3 contact groups. The negotiations were very ably facilitated by the following friends and ambassadors and colleagues: Her Excellency, the High Commissioner Koleka Anita Mukulwa of South Africa, Her Excellency Madam Julia Pataki of Romania, His Excellency Ambassador Erik Lundberg and Ms. Tita Korvinoja of Finland, Her Excellency Madam Elizabeth Taylor of Colombia, His Excellency Mr. Sunil Da Silva of Sri Lanka, Her Excellency Madam Lori Dando, Permanent Representative of the United States, Her Excellency Marta Juarez Ruiz, Permanent Representative of Costa Rica, Ms. Miriam Ott from Germany, Mr. Martin Gronda of Argentina, Mr. Agus Justinianto of Indonesia, and Mr. Marcus Davis of Canada. With thanks to their hard work and extraordinary skills as facilitators, I am very pleased to submit to you, Mr. President, the following 16 draft resolutions and 2 decisions, which were agreed and adopted by the Committee of the Whole for final adoption by the Assembly. UNEP/EA4/L2, Innovative Pathways to Achieve Sustainable Consumption and Production. UNEP/EA4/L3, Promoting Sustainable Practices and Innovative Solutions for Curbing Food Loss and Waste. UNEP/EA4/L4, Sustainable Mobility. UNEP/EA4/L5, Addressing Environmental Challenges through Sustainable Business Practices. UNEP/EA4/L6, Sustainable Infrastructure. UNEP/EA4/L7, Marine Plastic Litter and Microplastics. UNEP/EA4/L8, Environmentally Sound Management of Waste. UNEP/EA4/L9, Sound Management of Chemicals and Waste. UNEP/EA4/L10, Addressing Single-Use Plastic Products Pollution. UNEP/EA4/11, Innovations on Biodiversity and Land Degradation. UNEP/EA4/17, Innovations in Rangelands and Pastoralism. UNEP/EA4/21, Promote Gender Equality and the Human Rights and Empowerment of Women and Girls in Environmental Governance. UNEP/EA4/22, Poverty Environment Nexus. UNEP/EA4/23, Mineral Resource Governance. UNEP/EA4/25, Implementation Plan Towards a Pollution-Free Planet. And UNEP/EA4/27, Keeping the World Environment Under Review, Enhancing UNEP's Science Policy Interface and Endorsement of the Global Environment Outlook. 2 decisions, UNEP/EA4/L28, Proposed Program of Work and Budget for 2020-2021, and UNEP/EA4/L29, Provisional Agenda, Date, and Venue of the 5th Session of the United Nations Environment Assembly. This information, Mr. President, is also reflected in the procedural report of the Committee of the Whole, entitled United Environment Program /EA4/CW/L1, which has now been finalized and is available on the PaperSmart portal. In this context, I wish to recognize with great appreciation the work of Mr. Ib Putera Partama of Indonesia in his capacity as rapporteur for the Committee of the Whole, who has cleared the report before its finalization. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have much to be proud. In total, we have agreed a record number of 23 resolutions and 3 decisions. This demonstrates not only our firm commitment to sustainable development, but that we have agreed on new and bold steps to address emerging and important environmental issues with effective policies and measures, including a new program of work for the United Nations Environment Programme. As I am handing over these adopted resolutions and decisions of the work of the Committee of the Whole to you, Mr. President, I would like to appreciate the great support I received in my task. I am very grateful to Mr. Ibu Tera Partama of Indonesia, the rapporteur of the Committee of the Whole, for his committed and gentle support. In the same vein, let me again express my deepest appreciation to my group of friends who, as co-facilitators, managed to bring to the committee final proposals for our consideration, in many cases requiring them to hold the pen themselves to broker the necessary compromise solutions. I am also most grateful to all delegates who have engaged in finding good solutions for the issues addressed, and in spite of long hours and sacrifice, maintained a constructive spirit of result-oriented negotiations, which enabled us to produce this historic set of resolutions and decisions ready to be adopted today. My final thanks go to the relentless work of the Secretariat of United Nations Environment Programme, as well as to UNON Conference Services, who worked tirelessly to enable us to achieve this excellent result. I believe that many of the Secretariat colleagues went well beyond their call of duty in their endeavors to provide us with the necessary support. It demonstrates that United Nations Environment Programme remains a program based on professionalism, dedication, and commitment in support to our common endeavor to drive the global environmental agenda and sustainable development forward to a healthier and safer planet. My last thanks go to Mr. Laguna, Wolf, and Stadler, who during this whole Committee of the Whole process helped us very effectively and with great professionalism. With that, Mr. President, I conclude my report and thank you again for all your support and attention.
Thank you, Vice President Coimbra. Does the Assembly wish to take note on the report of the Committee of the Whole? I see no objections. It is so decided. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Mr. Chair, and your rapporteur, and the entire Committee of the Whole for working tirelessly to contribute to the success of this Assembly. Thank you. Before closing this agenda item formally, we will now proceed to agenda item 11. And we will now invite the Environment Assembly first to consider and adopt proposals brought forth to the Assembly from the fourth meeting of the Open-Ended Committee of Permanent Representatives. I kindly request all delegations wishing to make statements in connection with these draft resolutions to do so after their adoption. The first proposed draft resolution is UNEP/EA 4/L12, protection of the marine environment from land-based activities. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L12? I see no objection. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA 4/L13, Sustainable Management for Global Health of Mangrove. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution UNEP/EA 4/L13? I see no objection. It is so decided. The next resolution up for adoption is UNEP/EA L14, Sustainable Coral Reefs Management. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L14? I see no objection. It is so decided. The next resolution for adoption is UNEP/EA4/L19, Conservation and Sustainable Management of Peatlands. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L19? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next resolution for adoption is UNEP/EA4/L16, Sustainable Nitrogen Management. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L16? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next resolution for adoption is UNEP/EA4/L24, Fifth Program for the Development and Periodic Review of Environmental Law, Montevideo 5, Delivering for People and the Planet. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L24? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next resolution up for adoption is UNEP/EA4/L26, Implementation and follow-up of UNEA resolutions. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L26? I see no objections. It is so decided. I wish to bring to the Assembly's attention decision UNEP/EA4/L30, Management of Trust Funds and Earmarked Contributions for adoption. Does the Assembly wish to adopt decision L30? I see no objections. It is so decided. Dear colleagues, as earlier reported by the Chair of the Committee of the Whole, we now have in front of us a number of proposals for your consideration. Before the Assembly adopts these resolutions, one delegation has properly requested me to make a statement prior to the adoption. Before giving the floor to this delegation, I kindly ask all other delegations seeking to make a statement to kindly do so once we have concluded adoption of all resolutions. But now, representative of the United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We take this opportunity to make important points of clarification on some language we see reflected across multiple resolutions. The United States reiterates its explanations of position on all frameworks and declarations in these resolutions, including the 2030 Agenda, the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, the Sendai Framework, and the New Urban Agenda. We support the spirit of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development as a framework for development and applaud the call for shared responsibility, including national responsibility. The agenda recognizes that each country must work toward implementation in accordance with its own national policies and priorities. Its implementation must be consistent with the rights and obligations of states under international law and must respect and be without prejudice to the independent mandates of other processes and institutions. The agenda does not represent a commitment to provide new market access for goods or services, nor does it interpret or alter any WTO agreement or decision, including the agreement on trade-related aspects of intellectual property. Similarly, regarding the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, our reaffirmation of the outcome document has no standing for ongoing work and negotiations that involve trade. It is our view that the United Nations must respect the independent mandates of other processes and institutions, including trade negotiations, and must not involve itself in decisions and actions underway in other forums, including at the World Trade Organization. The UN is not the venue for these discussions, and there should be no expectation that the United States would heed decisions made by UNEP on these issues. This includes anything that weakens our ability to innovate, such as technology transfer that is not voluntary and on mutually agreed terms. Our intention is that this statement applies to actions on all agenda items at UNEA 4. We request that this statement be made part of the official record of the meeting. The United States appreciates the work on the Promoting Gender Equality resolution. The United States champions the empowerment of women and girls and knows that, that only through their meaningful and fair inclusion can we conquer the environmental challenges facing us, both individually and collectively. We do, however, find the resolution to raise significant concerns and must therefore disassociate from it. Our concerns include the use of outdated language and references to international instruments and organizations with which the United States has fundamental disagreement. We are particularly concerned with the references to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, to the For All Coalition, and to HRC 38/7, regarding which we have previously issued an explanation of position. The United States requests that our statement be reflected in the record. Thank you.
Thank you, the United States. Your statement will be reflected on the records. Now I wish to draw the attention of the Assembly to draft resolution UNEP/EA 4/L2, Innovative Pathways to Achieve Sustainable Consumption and Production. Does the Assembly wish to adopt resolution L2? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA 4/L3, Promoting Innovative Solutions for Curbing Food Loss and Waste. Does the Assembly wish to adopt resolution L3? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next resolution for adoption is UNEP/EA 4/L4, Sustainable Mobility. Does the Assembly wish to adopt resolution L4? I see no objections. It is so agreed. The next resolution for adoption is UNEP/EA 4/L5, Addressing Environmental Challenges through Sustainable Business Practices. Does the Assembly wish to adopt resolution L5? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA 4/L6, Sustainable Infrastructure. Does the Assembly wish to adopt resolution L6? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA 4/L7, Marine Plastic Litter and Microplastics. Does the Assembly wish to adopt resolution L7? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA 4/L8, Environmentally Sound Management of Waste. Does the Assembly wish to adopt resolution L8? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA 4/L9, Sound Management of Chemicals and Waste. Does the Assembly wish to adopt resolution L9? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA 4/L10, Addressing Single-Use Plastic Products Pollution. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L10? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA4/L11, Innovations on Biodiversity and Land Degradation. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L11? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA4/L17, Innovations in Rangelands and Pastoralism. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L17? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA4/L21, Promote Gender Equality and the Human Rights and the Empowerment of Women and Girls in Environmental Governance. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L21? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA4/L22, Poverty Environment Nexus. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L22? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA4/L23, Mineral Resource Governance. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L23? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA4/L25, Implementation Plan towards a Pollution-Free Planet. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L25? I see no objections. It is so decided. The next draft resolution is UNEP/EA4/L27, Keeping the World Environment Under Review, Enhancing UNEP's Science Policy Interface and Endorsement of the Global Environment Outlook. Does the Assembly wish to adopt Resolution L27? I see no objections. It is so decided. And now I wish to turn your attention to draft decision UNEP/EA4/L28, proposed program of work and budget for 2020 to 2021. Does the Assembly wish to adopt decision L28? I see no objections. It is so decided.
That's it.
And I now open the floor for any member states who wishes to make a statement in connection with any of the draft resolutions that the Assembly has just adopted. And first is Costa Rica. The floor is yours.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Chair. Costa Rica would like to express its gratitude to the Member States and Secretariat for its support to agree and adopt a resolution that promotes gender equality in relation to the environment, here at the fourth session of the UN Environment Assembly. As we all know, women play a critical role in moving today's society towards environmental sustainability. At the same time, women and girls are differently affected by climate change, the loss of biodiversity, pollution, and natural disasters, often owing to existing gender inequalities. However, this is often not recognized. Today, we celebrate a resolution that finally does recognize the importance of the role of women in the environment. Gender equality is often still a dream for our women. Costa Rica believes this needs to change, and this resolution can help achieve that change. By accelerating the empowerment of women in the environmental governance, we can ensure the recognition of the right to a healthy and sustainable environment for all, including women. Today is the date that member states at the UN Environment Assembly step up and make a commitment towards gender mainstreaming in environmental policies and programs. We thank all countries that constructively helped us move forward towards adopting this resolution today. We are thankful to the Secretariat for its support provided. Costa Rica looks forward to work with other member states and stakeholders and with the Secretariat to implement this important resolution that will speed up our progress towards gender equality in relation to environmental affairs. Thank you very much, President, and thank you for a big success in this Assembly, UNEA 4. The Costa Rica support is for you. Thank you. Thank you, all member states.
Thank you, Costa Rica, for your statement. And now I give the floor to Switzerland.
Thank you, Mr. President, dear colleagues. You have just adopted a number of resolutions, some of them of great importance that will guide the next steps of our works, others clearly not reflecting our expectations. But Switzerland would like to draw the attention on the decision that we were not able to adopt because of lack of consensus. Switzerland, together with the 12 countries from all UN regions, big and small, developed and developing, has proposed a decision asking UNEP to collect the existing information on the risks, potential and governance challenges of geoengineering technologies. Geoengineering is an emerging issue of global relevance. It is a cross-cutting issue related to many environmental fields like climate change or biodiversity. It is not an issue that can be looked at only from a climate change or biodiversity perspective. It needs a comprehensive approach, taking into consideration all different dimensions. It is the core mandate of UNEP to keep member states informed about emerging environmental issues. UNEP has a competence, and it is one of its core functions to gather information and provide fact-based assessment. Therefore, it is difficult to understand why a very small number of UNEP members is not able to join the consensus to ask UNEP to collect the needed information on a new issue of such global environmental relevance as geoengineering. We regret that we were not able to achieve consensus on something that seems to be so obvious, to ask UNEP for more information. But that does not take geoengineering off the table, neither from the reality in the world, nor of our further work, nor does it take it off the agenda of the next UNEA. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Monaco.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Principauté remercie la Présidence et le Secrétariat et tous les organisateurs pour nous avoir menés aux très importants résultats obtenus ce jour. Nous souhaitons également remercier la Suisse pour son initiative concernant la résolution sur la géoingénierie, ainsi que tous les autres pays co-auteurs de leur participation à cette négociation sur un sujet de grande importance. Nous regrettons toutefois que l'Assemblée ne soit pas parvenue à un accord sur cette question transversale. En effet, la géoingénierie est porteuse d'incertitudes et de questionnements, notamment d'ordre éthique, qui intéressent tous les pays, de par l'étendue de ses impacts possibles, qui ne tiendrait sûrement pas compte des frontières. Dès lors, demeure l'intérêt d'une réflexion et d'une concertation globale pour évaluer dans un premier temps les possibilités offertes par ces technologies, mais également leurs risques. Monaco maintient donc son intérêt à ce que ce sujet soit à nouveau abordé par l'Assemblée des Nations Unies pour l'environnement. Merci.
Thank you, Monaco. And now I give the floor to Senegal.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Ma délégation s'associe au moment de compassion observé en début de séance. Nos pensées pieuses vont également aux familles et proches des victimes de l'attaque perpétrée aujourd'hui contre 2 mosquées en Nouvelle-Zélande. M'adressant à vous, Monsieur le Président, je voudrais vous féliciter avec votre équipe pour la bonne conduite de nos travaux. Cette session a été particulièrement intense, voire trop chargée. Même si nous pouvons, avec raison, nous réjouir des résultats obtenus au cours de cette UNEA 4, force est de reconnaître que le travail de mise en œuvre qui nous attend est immense. Et nous devons, par ailleurs, poursuivre la réflexion sur des sujets importants comme celui qui porte sur la géo-ingénierie ainsi que sur une gouvernance renforcée des déchets en mer. Enfin, nos remerciements au secrétariat et aux services d'interprétation pour le soutien apporté au succès de cette session. Merci de votre attention.
Thank you, Senegal, for your statement. And now I give the floor to Japan.
Mr. President, first of all, let me extend sincere thanks of Japanese delegation to your tremendous effort in putting together diversified views and guide us to the final outcomes of the UNEA 4. We particularly appreciate the adoption of the resolution on marine plastic litter and microplastics, which is a significant step to move us forward towards the long-term elimination of discharge of litter and microplastics to the marine environment. In implementing this resolution, as well as others, the role of UNEP is crucial. We urge UNEP to take a lead to work with state members and international partners such as Basel Convention and IMO to maximize benefits while avoiding duplication of work and responsibility. Japan is determined to take a lead on this matter towards G20 and beyond. Thank you very much, President.
Thank you, Japan. Now I give the floor to Bolivia.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. El Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia aprecia su liderazgo en esta NUMA 4 y da la bienvenida a las decisiones asumidas, especialmente la relativa a la equidad de género y el empoderamiento de las mujeres y niñas en la gobernanza ambiental. Como mencionamos en nuestra locución nacional, valoramos los múltiples avances en la gobernanza ambiental, pero también reconocemos que necesitamos avanzar de manera decidida hacia adelante, de una manera más efectiva. Y esperamos que este proceso se desarrolle en el marco del respeto de los derechos de la Madre Tierra, las responsabilidades compartidas pero diferenciadas y también con base al enfoque precautorio. Lamentamos que en esta NUMA no alcanzamos acuerdos en la gobernanza hacia la reducción de la deforestación como parte del manejo integral y sustentable de los bosques y de la producción y consumo sustentable. También lamentamos que no se pudo llegar a un acuerdo que avance hacia la gobernanza de la geoingeniería desde el enfoque precautorio y en el marco de los acuerdos ya existentes de las Naciones Unidas. De manera general, somos de la opinión que como comunidad global ya tenemos bastante información científica, por lo que nuestros esfuerzos deben enfocarse de pasar de la decisión a la acción, así como nos los pide la juventud y la niñez. Pensamos que las soluciones tecnológicas son importantes, pero más allá de ellas requerimos una visión más integral
basadas en la resiliencia socioecológica, fortaleciendo las funciones de los ecosistemas, las economías más justas y los sistemas de vida. Queremos enfatizar que el Estado plurinacional de Bolivia reafirma su compromiso para avanzar en esta ruta. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Bolivia. And the next speaker is Ethiopia. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Honorable President, Honorable Ministers and Heads of Delegations, Acting Executive Director, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to extend my sincere appreciations to His Excellency Mr. Sim Valmar Kessler, Minister of Environment of Estonia and the current President of the United Nations Assembly, and the UNEA Bureau for the job well done. Mr. President, Ethiopia views that the historic 23 number of resolutions and the 3 decisions and the significant number of participants only shows the growing interest of all in addressing environmental challenges. Ethiopia reiterates the need to implement paragraph 88 of the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, especially subparagraph 6 of consolidation of headquarters function, for it helps fulfill the promise of UN environment as it is stipulated in subparagraph A. Mr. President, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude for all delegations and the United Nations for being there for each other as we grieve for the lives perished in the tragic accident. Once again, may their soul rest in eternal peace. In conclusion, Ethiopia wishes to reiterate its unwavering commitment to work with all concerned actors to address our planet's environmental challenges as well as to achieve sustainable development. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ethiopia. And the next speaker is New Zealand. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. New Zealand thanks Switzerland and other colleagues for the efforts made over the past few days to reach a consensus on the issue of geoengineering. We are disappointed that there has been no agreement on this resolution. Geoengineering has the potential for far-reaching environmental impacts, and it warrants appropriate consideration. We look forward to discussing this issue in future. And finally, may I say a deep, heartfelt thank you to Senegal and all the others who have extended condolences at what is a very difficult time for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the statement. Next speaker is Mexico.
Señor presidente, la delegación mexicana lo felicita por su excelente liderazgo y a todos los miembros de la mesa que lo acompañaron en esta intensiva y exitosa semana de trabajo. Hacemos extensiva esta felicitación al Secretariado del Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Medio Ambiente y a los intérpretes de las Naciones Unidas por todo el apoyo que recibimos a lo largo de las negociaciones y de esta provechosa asamblea. México también quiere expresar sus condolencias por el trágico fallecimiento de los pasajeros del vuelo de Ethiopian Airlines y en particular a nuestra connacional Graciela de Luis y Ponce, que trabajaba como intérprete de las Naciones Unidas. Señor presidente, México lamenta que no se haya llegado a un acuerdo sobre la resolución titulada La geoingeniería y su gobernanza. Es claro que la geoingeniería puede representar riesgos de severos impactos al medio ambiente. Por lo tanto, los países requerimos de mayor información sobre este tema, en particular, aquella información relacionada con el potencial de la geoingeniería, sus riesgos y la posible necesidad de su gobernanza. Una revisión integral de este tema nos permitirá, sin duda alguna, una discusión debidamente informada por quienes tomamos decisiones. Ante estas circunstancias, la delegación mexicana espera que la comunidad internacional pueda considerar y trabajar sobre este importante tema en un futuro no muy lejano. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Mexico. And now I give the floor to Niger.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je vous félicite vivement ainsi que l'ensemble du personnel du secrétariat du Programme des Nations Unies pour l'environnement. C'est un succès éclatant pour notre session actuelle du Programme des Nations Unies pour l'environnement. Nous nous félicitons aussi de l'adoption de toutes ces résolutions dont le Niger est totalement solidaire, notamment celles relatives au pastoralisme, à la diversité et dégradation des terres, les déchets, la pollution par le plastique, ainsi que toutes les résolutions. Le seul regret, Monsieur le Président, il s'agit vraiment de retrait provisoire de la résolution relative à la gouvernance sur la géo-ingénierie. Et nous estimons que c'est un retrait provisoire et très prochainement, cette question devrait revenir sur la table. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much. And next speaker is Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to congratulate to all country delegations and UNEP, of course, with the very tremendous progress achieved with the adoption so important resolutions and decisions. But I also would like to join and support statements of distinguished delegates of Switzerland and New Zealand, and express that Georgia is among those countries that had co-sponsored the resolution of geoengineering and its governance. As outlined in the many reports, certain geoengineering technologies may contain risks that have severe environmental impacts. We need further information on this topic, including its risks and potential, and we have to start thinking more about possible governance structure. The requested report would have delivered such important basic information, and we are therefore disappointed that no agreement has been achieved on this resolution, but we also believe that the conversation has only started, and we are looking forward to further consideration and work on this important topic and future UNEAs and other relevant places. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Georgia. And now I give the floor to Colombia.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Colombia se une, como el resto de países, en el reconocimiento de su labor de liderazgo en este proceso global. Y también, como muchos otros países también lo han reconocido, queremos resaltar también los documentos que han sido aprobados aquí en esta asamblea, especialmente los relacionados con el consumo y protección sostenible de una economía circular, que, como lo dijimos anteriormente, Colombia y muchos países de Latinoamérica ya están diseñando sus acciones concretas frente a este tema vital para todos. El componente y el documento de negocios verdes, el de plásticos de un solo uso, basura marina y microplásticos, soluciones innovadoras para prevenir la degradación de las tierras y suelos, movilidad limpia o protección del ambiente marino de actividades en tierra. Pero también, por supuesto, lamentamos profundamente, como otros países lo han expresado, que en esta Asamblea Mundial para el Medio Ambiente no hayamos acordado la adopción de una resolución que luche contra nuestro más grande flagelo que tenemos hoy día en los países, como es la destrucción de nuestros bosques naturales, que en el caso de Colombia asciende a casi más de 220.000 hectáreas año. Ante esta situación, invitamos a que los estados nos comprometamos también con metas mucho más tangibles y podamos diseñar planes de corto, mediano y largo plazo, como ya lo estamos haciendo con la cooperación internacional, como es el caso precisamente de la Unión Europea y de países como Noruega, Suecia, Suiza, Alemania y Reino Unido, que se han comprometido con nosotros en esta lucha precisamente para combatir la degradación, no solamente de los bosques, sino también de los suelos y la pérdida de nuestra biodiversidad. Pero también quiero finalizar invitando a todos los Estados miembros a que también nos comprometamos mucho más allá a incrementar nuestras ambiciones para la protección y conservación de la biodiversidad, pensando en nuestras metas y en el futuro de lo que serán nuestras ambiciones para el año 2020 y mucho más allá de estas fechas. Mil gracias nuevamente y felicitaciones por el liderazgo, como ya lo hemos expresado en la mayoría de los países, especialmente el apoyo que hemos tenido también del equipo del PENUMA y demás personas que han venido participando en las diferentes delegaciones que se han manifestado en el día de hoy. Mil gracias.
Thank you, Colombia. And the next speaker is Uganda.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, Uganda would like to convey condolences to New Zealand for the tragic loss of lives. We convey our condolences to the government, the people, and the families that lost their dear ones. Mr. President, Uganda would also like to thank you very profoundly for the great work you've done with your team. And we also wish to thank the UNEP Secretariat for bringing us thus far. Mr. President, would like to speak to decision UNEP/EA 4/L29, which is entitled Provisional Agenda, Date, and the venue of the fifth session of the United Nations Environment Assembly. We note that the scope of this resolution goes beyond the title it is carrying. And therefore, Mr. President, Uganda joined the consensus on the understanding that these are two resolutions, although contained in one document. The first part is the traditional provisional decision concerning strictly the agenda, date, and the venue. Then the other part seems to contain more governance issues which do not speak to the title. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Uganda. And now I give the floor to Indonesia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, allow me first and foremost to congratulate and appreciate your leadership that brings us to the successful conclusion of this UNEA 4. Also, our sincere thanks to the UN Environment Secretariat for its excellent works. Indonesia would like to express our deep condolences for the tragic loss in the hate crimes happening in New Zealand. Indonesia views that as the pertinent forum to address the global environmental affairs, UNEA should send a strong message to the world that innovations and solutions for environmental challenges and sustainable consumption and production will significantly contribute to our pathway to the future we want. During the last few days, we are strengthening our commitment through discussing and adopting numbers of important resolutions, including our initiatives on sustainable management of ecosystems, namely mangrove, peatland, coral reef, marine, as well as on sustainable consumption and production. We believe we must maintain the momentum to immediately work together in implementing the UNEA 4 resolution. Mr. President, to conclude, we must remember that our action today will be judged by our future generation. So let us unite and work hand in hand in making the future we want. I thank you.
Thank you, Indonesia. And now I give the floor to Argentina.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Señor Presidente, tengo el honor de hacer esta intervención en nombre del Grupo Latinoamericano y del Caribe. En primer lugar, nuestras más sinceras condolencias a los familiares de las víctimas y al Gobierno de Nueva Zelanda por los trágicos incidentes. Señor Presidente, en esta sesión plenaria quisiéramos, en segundo lugar, expresar nuestro profundo agradecimiento hacia usted, hacia su enviado especial y hacia todo su equipo. Su liderazgo y compromiso nos permitió tener una nueva Asamblea de Medio Ambiente con resultados sobresalientes. Felicitaciones, señor Presidente. Es un placer para nosotros notar que los proyectos de resolución que presentaron los países de nuestra región y que abordan temas de extrema importancia para con el ambiente fueron adoptados por esta Asamblea. Muchas gracias, señor Presidente, y felicitaciones.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Mali.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Tout d'abord, nous joignons notre voix à celle des autres pour présenter nos condoléances les plus assistées aux familles des victimes du crash d'Ethiopian Airlines et de ce qui s'est passé en Nouvelle-Zélande. Le Mali vous félicite, Monsieur le Président, de la manière avec laquelle vous dirigez nos travaux. Le Mali se réjouit de l'adoption des projets de résolution par notre Assemblée. Toutefois, nous exprimons notre regret pour la non-adoption du projet de résolution sur la géo-ingénierie et nous recommandons d'inscrire ce projet de résolution à la prochaine session de l'année. Merci, monsieur.
Thank you for the statement. Now I give the floor to Mauritius.
Honorable President, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I have to bring greetings from Mauritius to you all, and also we associate ourselves with the condolences expressed in favor of the victims of the airplane which happened in Ethiopia. I thank the UNEP for having given us this opportunity to participate and also to interact constructively with other delegates. I want to make a point, very strong point. We as 6 countries, we are more vulnerable to climate change. The impact of climate change is felt very hard, and it has socio-economic impact on small economies like 6 economies, like Mauritius, our country, and part of Africa also. So what I want to say is, if we want to fight climate change and we want to win the battle again, the adverse impact of climate change, all the countries, the 6 countries and the rest of the world should adopt a very serious action plan of adaptation and mitigation. However, regarding 6 countries and African countries, we know we don't have the capacity. We want this UNEP conference to send a signal to the international community that without capacity, we won't be able to come up with strong plan for adaptation and mitigation. We need capacity, financial, human, in terms of expertise, and also in respect of management of climate change in our country. Therefore, there is a need for the transfer of technology, financial assistance, building capacity in those 6 countries. This is my plea to the world. That's why we see many countries have become fatalist because of their priorities. In face of climate change, they say that they can't do much. Whatever happens, they have to adapt with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mauritius. Dear colleagues, I have now 4 more requests for interventions, and I would like to close the list of speakers. these four? I see no objection here. Thank you. The list is closed. And the next speaker is South Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My delegation wishes to join the people of the world in sending condolences to those families who were affected by the plane, and also extend condolences to the incidents that happened in New Zealand. And we are with them in their prayers, those families in particular and those government. Mr. President, my delegation wishes to thank you as the President of the UNEA, the Bureau of UNEA, the CPR member state and the Secretariat for the work well done leading up to the adoption of the resolution today. My delegation remains committed to the work of the international environmental governance and would like to ensure all member states to facilitate the implementation of the ministerial declaration and the resolution adopted. My government remains committed in ensuring that the issues of environment are understood across people irrespective of your social and economic background. In supporting Uganda, Excellency, it is the understanding of my government that the resolution on the provisional agenda, dates and venue is split into procedure and substantive, hereby to the substantive reference to the CPR-led review processes. My delegation wishes to have this on record. Mr. President, we wish to thank you and your team, and also in adding that even the envoy that have spent much time in Nairobi with us, trying to mediate between a different delegation. Thank you very much. Your hospitality when we were in your country is much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, South Africa. And the next speaker is Romania.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is my privilege to speak on behalf of the European Union and its member states from the place of Romania. Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Serbia, and Ukraine aligned themselves with this statement. This assembly was overshadowed by the tragic accident of the flight carrying many of our colleagues to this meeting. And today, we also extend our condolences to the New Zealand delegation and mourn with them the loss of many lives. All of us represented at the fourth session of the UN Environmental Assembly have worked very hard to achieve an ambitious and forward-looking result. And we think we have succeeded. It is therefore with great pleasure that we welcome the outcome of the Assembly. And we also welcome the engagement of all member states in discussing solutions for the environmental challenges that our planet is facing. That proves that the highest environmental authority sets the global environmental agenda and that UNEP maintains its underpinning science policy foundation. This significant engagement and the positive results achieved would not have been possible without the tireless efforts of the UNEA President, Minister Sim Keisler. The Chair of the Committee of the Whole, Ambassador Coimbra from Brazil, and the Bureau of the Assembly, as well as the facilitators. We also welcome the preparatory process led by the Committee of Permanent Representatives and efficiently supported by the UNEP Secretariat. Great thanks to the Acting Executive Director, Mrs. Joyce Msuya. We also extend a very warm welcome to the incoming Executive Director, Mrs. Inger Andersen. We are looking forward to working with her. The most prominent success of UNEA 4 is the Ministerial Declaration. It presents a compromise between various levels of ambition of Member States. Nevertheless, it clearly indicates the direction in which our development needs will evolve to ensure a sustainable future. The Declaration includes very important statements and commitments that will guide our work in the multilateral system and actions at national and regional level, not least with regard to the topic issue of single-use plastics. Along the same lines, we are largely very happy with the overall balance of the package of resolutions that we have negotiated over the last days. The EU and its member states believe that we have agreed on an important set of approaches, commitments, and innovative solutions that will advance us in our work on important topics. And I would like to mention the importance of resolutions such as women and the environment, sound management of chemicals and waste, sustainable consumption and production, more resource efficient and circularity, and fewer unnecessary products such as certain single-use plastic products. We welcome the review process initiated at this UNEA, and we look forward to work with other member states to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of UNEA and its subsidiary bodies. It will remain, nevertheless, a major disappointment that it was impossible to agree on the resolution proposed by the EU and its member states on deforestation from agriculture commodity supply chains. Despite efforts and untiring engagement, it proved impossible to convince some member states to address this burning global challenge also at this Assembly. However, the EU and its member states will continue engaging beyond UNEA 4 to ensure that this threat to our environment is fully addressed. We remain committed to the 2030 Agenda, to agreed multilateral cooperation, and to international environmental governance, and we will not agree to any backsliding in this regard. We would like to thank all with whom we worked hand in hand for the past 10 days. We have been encouraged by the tremendous opportunities to discuss and exchange views, including through dialogues with political leaders and stakeholders, various side events and bilateral meetings. We invite all partners to join us, to work with us, to develop together future initiatives and actions building on the achievements of this Assembly. And last but not least, the EU and its member states would also like to wish every success to the future president of UNEA 5, to the new UNEA Bureau. We wish them every success in guiding us towards the next session of the Assembly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, European Union. And now I give the floor to the League of Arab States.
Thank you. أرجو بداية أن أتقدم بخالص التعازي القلبية في ضحايا الحادث الإرهابي في نيوزيلندا الذي راح ضحيته عدد كبير من المصلين المسالمين في دار للعبادة، ونسأل الله أن يرحمهم ويتقبلهم شهداء. كما أرجو أن أتقدم بالشكر والتقدير على اعتماد هذه الدورة للقرار المقدم من الدول العربية وسريلانكا بشأن هدر الطعام، وكذلك اعتماد القرار الخاص بإدارة النفايات الصلبة المقدم من الدول العربية بمساندة ودعم مقدر من تشيلي وتركيا وسريلانكا. كما لا يسعني إلا أن أتقدم بخالص الشكر والتقدير إلى معالي السيد سيم كيسلر رئيس الدورة الرابعة لجمعية الأمم المتحدة للبيئة على إدارته الحكيمة لأعمال هذه الدورة الناجحة. والتهنئة موصولة كذلك إلى السيدة جويس مسيويا المدير التنفيذي المكلف وأعضاء السكرتارية على جهودهم وأدائهم المتميز، وشكرا جزيلا.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Kenya.
Mr. President, let me first, on behalf of my delegation and my government, express our deepest condolences to the government and the people of New Zealand for the tragic event that has taken place. We join the people of New Zealand in expressing our sympathies and condolences. Secondly, President, let me join the delegations that have spoken in expressing our appreciation to you, Mr. President, and to the chair of the Committee of the Whole, as well as the Secretariat of the UNEA for the tremendous leadership that you have demonstrated that has resulted in this landmark resolution that we have reached today. And lastly, Mr. President, my delegation wishes to join and support the delegation of Uganda and South Africa regarding the issue of resolution UNEP /EA4/L29 regarding the mixture of a procedural issue, or what should be a procedural issue, date and venue, and what is clearly a substantive issue, the issue of the agenda for UNEA 5. We support and associate ourselves with that position. There is absolutely no justification to join those two, and those two aspects are distinct and separate, and we wish to register our position as Kenya, that it be reflected into the record. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Kenya. And now I give the floor to Eritrea.
Dear President, thank you very much for giving me the floor. I would like to be very brief, taking into consideration the time. My delegation would like to express my deep and heartfelt condolences to the families and government of New Zealand for the tragic event of today, and also to the families and governments of those many lives that perished tragically during the ill-fated flight of Ethiopia Airlines en route to Nairobi. I also would like to thank you, and as a president of UNEA and your Estonian team, I also would like to thank the chair of the whole, the ambassador of Brazil, CPR and its secretariat for the successful completion of UNEA 4 that has come out with ministerial declaration and various resolutions. Dear President, my country will remain committed for their implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your statement. And our last speaker in this agenda item is Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just take a couple of minutes. Thank you again for giving me the floor. First of all, I would like to congratulate President, Acting Executive Director Joyce Masuya, SGB Mr. Laguna, and the entire UNEP team for the wonderful job done extremely well. I just wanted to join the other colleagues regarding the unfortunate incident in New Zealand, and just to say that our hearts go out to those who have lost their lives in the most despicable, barbaric act of killing so many worshippers in a mosque in New Zealand. Our hearts go out for them and their aggrieved families. We stand by the people and government of New Zealand at this trying time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all for your comments. And now I declare agenda items 5, international environmental policy and governance issues, agenda item 6, program work and budget and other administrative and budgetary issues, and agenda item 11, adoption of the outcomes of the session closed. I will now I now wish to turn your attention to Agenda Item 7, Stakeholders Engagement. I understand that all major groups and stakeholders have one consolidated statement to provide at this moment. The representative of major groups and stakeholders, Mr. Prem Singh Tharu, you have the floor.
Chair, for the opportunity to speak. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Prem Singh Tharu, an indigenous person from Asia Indigenous People Pact, APP, representing Asia region from Nepal, and I am honored speaking today on behalf of major groups and stakeholders except business and industry. We join the condolence to the New Zealand. It is really a pity that UNEA did not reach its potential despite an active and committed presidency. Resolutions on vital issues such as deforestation, agricultural supply chains, and strengthening of geoengineering governance at the UN dropped entirely and others diluted. Lack of concerted action on and resources for implementation means certain failure to address the critical issues, despite the fact that the new GO6 report indicates that we are going with increased momentum towards irreversible decline. In an era that is sometimes called post-truth, the science policy interface and assessments are more crucial than ever. We support the growth of citizen science. We intend to enhance engagement of major groups in the work programs with inclusion and respect of indigenous traditional knowledge and practices. On SCP, we did not see much progress than what was already agreed in the One Planet Network, but we are looking forward to the promised report comprising the International Resource Panel to provide insights on the management of natural resources and raw materials in relation to 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We regret the lack of recognition of the role of environmental human rights defenders in the resolution on gender and equality. Even if the resolution on geoengineering drop off the table, we have great concern over its severe risk for the future of people and planet. We will continue to build on the work we have done collectively in the past 2 years towards allowing a global governance framework to address urgency of plastic pollution. Despite the disappointment, we will keep working with all government and stakeholders who want a better world for our children, not just for corporate interest. While we welcome the resolutions on food and waste, there are gaps in dealing with production and consumption. Priority has to be placed on agroecology based on local knowledge, biodiversity, animal welfare, climate resilient varieties, local seeds and knowledge. In addition, the resolution on chemicals and waste supports a high ambition alliance, but we suggest the inclusion of groups that are most affected by the chemicals and waste and CSOs in this alliance so that their concerns are fully addressed. If we don't commit and take actions to halt deforestation and forest degradation today, we will not be able to ensure food security. Healthy ecosystems are the basis for sustainable agriculture. We therefore appeal to all delegates in the room to step up and take urgent actions to halt deforestation and forest degradation. For the next UNEA, we would like to see a strong, coherent theme which provides the opportunity to work on the systemic issues and drivers of environmental crisis. At Stockholm Plus 50, we should be ready to present a planetary boundaries framework, including actions to use Earth systems approaches to implement and monitor preventive, transformative, and restorative actions, together with monitoring schemes of progress made, so we can hold government accountable for what they do. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your statement. I now declare Agenda Item 7, Stakeholder Engagement, closed. And I now turn your attention to Agenda Item 8, Contributions to Meetings of the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. As the Assembly recalls, the fourth meeting of the open-ended committee requested the Executive Director to revise the report, Contributions of the UN Environment Assembly to the 2019 High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. Responses to the questions raised by the President of the Economic and Social Council, UNEP/EA4/INF/15. I hereby propose to all Member States that a revised report entitled Contributions of the UN Environment Assembly to the 2019 High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, responses to the questions raised by the President of the Economic and Social Council will be considered by the Committee on behalf of the Assembly and in accordance with UNEA Resolution 3/3. I see no objections. It is so decided. This formally concludes Agenda Item 8, Contributions to Meetings of the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. And I would like to turn the Assembly's attention to Agenda Item 12, Election of Officers. In accordance with Rule 18 of the Rules of Procedure, the United Nations Environment Assembly will elect a President, 8 Vice Presidents, and a Rapporteur from among its members. Allow me to give the floor to the Secretariat to inform the meeting on the nominated candidates.
Thank you very much, distinguished President of the Assembly. I am happy to communicate that we have received all nominations from the 5 regional groups to integrate the Bureau of the 5th session of the Environment Assembly. Allow me to start first with the nominations for the positions of Vice Presidents and Rapporteur. For the positions of Vice President, I have the honor to inform the Assembly that the Group of Latin American States has nominated His Excellency Carlos Manuel Rodriguez Echandi, Minister of Environment and Energy of Costa Rica, and His Excellency Winston Lacking, Ambassador in charge of Environment and Presidential Advisor of Suriname. The Group of Eastern European States has also decided to nominate for the positions of Vice Presidents of the Assembly His Excellency Mr. Goran Trivan, Minister of Environmental Protection of Serbia, and Mr. Ado Lomus, Permanent Representative of Estonia to the UN Environment Programme. The Group of States of Asia Pacific has nominated His Excellency Dr. Mohammed bin Dania, Chief Executive of the Supreme Council for Environment of Bahrain, and Mrs. Laxmi Dewanti, Senior Advisor to the Minister of Environment and Forestry of Indonesia. And the Group of African States, Distinguished Assembly, has decided to nominate His Excellency Basier Basio, Minister of Environment and Economy and Green, my apologies, Minister of Environment and Green Economy and Climate Change of Burkina Faso to the position of Vice President. With regards to the Rapporteur, I have the honor to inform that the Group of African States has decided to nominate Her Excellency Ms. Nombula Mokonyane, Minister of Environment Affairs of the Republic of South Africa. The last nomination for the position of Vice President is made on behalf of the Group of Western European and other states in the person of Her Excellency Ms. Brune Poisson, Secretary of State for the Ecological and Inclusive Transition of France. Now, with regards to the nomination for President of the 5th session of the UN Environment Assembly, Distinguished Assembly, I have the honor to inform you that the Group of Western European and other states has nominated His Excellency Mr. Ola Elvestuen of Norway for the position of President of the 5th session of the UN Environment Assembly. Distinguished Assembly, distinguished President, I have the honor to inform you that that concludes thus the nomination processes for election of officers.
Thank you very much. And now I ask whether the Assembly does wish to elect by acclamation His Excellency Mr. Ola Elvestuen, Minister of Climate and Environment of Norway, as President of the 5th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly. Mr. Ola Elvestuen of Norway is elected as President of the 5th session of the Environment Assembly. Does the Assembly wish to elect the following as Vice Presidents of the next session of the UN Environment Assembly by acclamation? Mr. Carlos Manuel Rodriguez Enchandi, Minister of Environment and Energy of Costa Rica. Mr. Winston Lakin, Ambassador in charge of Environment and Presidential Advisor of Suriname. His Excellency, Mr. Goran Triman, Minister of Environmental Protection of Serbia. Her Excellency, Ms. Brune Poisson, Secretary of State for the Ecological and Inclusive Transition of France. His Excellency Dr. Mohammed bin Dainah, Chief Executive of the Supreme Council for Environment of Bahrain. Ms. Laxmi Hewanti, Senior Advisor to the Minister of Environment and Forestry of Indonesia. Mr. Ado Lohmus, Permanent Representative of Estonia to United Nations Environment Programme. His Excellency Bashir Patio, Minister of Environment of Burkina Faso. I see no objection here. The members of the Bureau are elected. Does the Assembly wish to elect Her Excellency Nomvula Mokonyane of South Africa as Rapporteur of the 5th session of the Assembly? I see no objection. The Rapporteur is elected. Congratulations to you all on your election to the Bureau of the United Nations Environment Assembly. And now I wish to give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Ola Elvestuen of Norway, the President of the 5th session of the UN Environment Assembly, to make a few remarks.
Thank you. President of the 4th session. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first I will also again offer my deepest condolences for all who suffered such a tragic loss at the accident last weekend. I also offer my condolences for the loss of life as a result of the crimes in New Zealand. Our thoughts and prayers are with the bereaved families and communities in Christchurch. It is an honor for me to take up the mantle of leading the Bureau for UNEA 5. And first I would like to pay tribute to you and your team, Minister Kissler, Siem, for leading this assembly to a successful conclusion. The GEO6 report, as well as other reports, show that we collectively are in a very serious situation, and the trends are not going in the right direction. We must take action, and we must take it together. We have committed ourselves to doing so now as ministers, and we have given UN Environment a mandate to work. I feel privileged to be afforded this responsibility, and I, as everyone here, believes in the collective action of the UN. Progress is best made when we work inclusively. I want to work with all. through both my fellow Bureau members and with the Committee of Permanent Representatives, as well as broader civil society, the private sector, and beyond. It is only with us partnering together that we member states will be able to make the decisions the world will expect of us at UNEA 5. Ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, thank you very much for this appointment. I am looking forward to work with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ola. And Argentina has requested for the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Señor presidente, tengo el honor de intervenir nuevamente en nombre del Grupo Latinoamericano y del Caribe. Quisiéramos expresar nuestro beneplácito con la elección de Surinam y Costa Rica como miembros del Buró de la quinta sesión de la Asamblea de Naciones Unidas para el Medio Ambiente. Estamos convencidos que serán grandes y activos representantes de nuestra región. También van nuestras felicitaciones para Sudáfrica. Por último, señor presidente, quisiéramos felicitar a Noruega por su elección como presidente de la NUMA 5. Tienen un gran desafío por delante, pero la elección de un país que se encuentra al frente de las acciones tomadas para mejorar el ambiente nos auguran una quinta asamblea extremadamente exitosa. Puede, señor presidente de la NUMA Quinta, contar desde ya con el apoyo del GRULAC. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Switzerland.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the JUSCANS Group, we would like to congratulate Mr. Ole Elvestuen from Norway to his election as President of UNEA 5. We are confident that you will lead us to a successful international period and a successful UNEA 5. We are looking forward to work with you and your team, and I can assure you to our full support for this demanding task. Congratulations also to all other elected members of the Bureau. We are looking forward to working with you. And last but not least, I will also take this chance to thank you, Minister Kissler, for your outstanding work over the last 2 years. It was a pleasure to work with you and your team, Ardo, Caitlin, and all the others, to work on your leadership. And thank you so much to have brought us to a successful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these statements. We wish all the best luck to the new Bureau and the President. And we move on with our agenda. And the next item on our agenda is the provisional agenda and date of the 5th session of the Environment Assembly. At the request of the Member States, a technical revision will be made to the decision by the Secretariat after adoption. A subheading will be added immediately before operative paragraph 9 to read as follows: CPR-based review process. Please note that this is not additional language and the wording is already contained in operative paragraph 9. And now I ask the Assembly, does the Assembly wish to adopt decision UNEP/EA4/L29? I see no objections here. It is so decided. And now I announce decision UNEP/EA4/L29, provisional agenda, date and venue of the 5th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly adopted. This concludes consideration of agenda item 12, provisional agenda and date of the fourth session of the Environment Assembly. And let us now move to agenda item 13, other matters. Is there any delegation who wishes to present any other matters for consideration by the Assembly? I see no interventions raised. I now declare agenda item 13, other matters, closed. I now wish to turn your attention to agenda item 14, adoption of the report of the proceedings of the past 4 days of the Assembly. And I now wish to give the floor to our rapporteur, His Excellency Mr. Hasri Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to bring your attention now that the Secretariat has circulated and posted the English version of the draft report of the fourth session of the UN Environment Assembly, UNEP/EA4/L31. I wish to indicate to Member States that this report is provisional, as it does not yet contain the summaries of national statements. However, the summaries will be included in the final proceedings of UNEA that will be cleared by the rapporteur of the Assembly and sent for review by Member States. Once reviewed, it will be made available in all languages after the closure of the Assembly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. With that said, does the Assembly wish to adopt UNEP/EA4/L31 draft proceedings of the United Nations Environment Assembly at its fourth session, pending revisions? I see no objections. It is so decided. And I declare agenda item 14, adoption of the report, closed. Dear colleagues, we are almost at the end of our meeting, and we are now joined by our young friends who will take us through the Uniting Water Ceremony, a ceremony the governing body of the UN Environment Programme has partaken in for children to share their concern for water for life.
I hope that my children and the other children will have experienced the world that we live in now, because I want everyone to know how the world is and not how it was.
I hope to be a lawyer and make sure that people do not cut trees, because the trees are important.
I have a dream that my kids can see things that we can see now, like snow and glaciers and stuff like that. Because I love snow and I want others to see that too, and in another generation that comes after us.
We should not pollute the sea. We should not pollute the sea because when we pollute the sea, all our living creatures in the sea will die and will not have food to eat.
Protect the animals all over the world.
Protect the animals all over the world.
They have the right to live as all human beings.
Join hands.
Join hands.
It doesn't matter where you come from. We are all equal.
We should have good homes.
We should have good homes.
Many of us have no homes.
Remove all the dam sites. So that can have clean environment to be safe.
Stop sexual harassment. Early pregnancy and forced marriages to all children should stop.
Make the earth a beautiful place.
Make the earth a beautiful place.
We should plant trees and save all the forests.
Teamwork. We should have teamwork to make the world a better place.
Climate change destroys all life on earth.
Climate change destroys all life on earth.
Too late, act now.
Too late, act now.
The earth is not recyclable. It's not recyclable. The earth is not recyclable.
Shukeni. Shukeni. Wachana nazo hapo.
Children and leaders meet at the children meeting place here at the United Nations.
Find a tree in your city, meet children there.
Listen to the children, join the children.
You can see other children's meeting places in the world.
Where leaders meet children and they listen to us.
When we meet at the children's meeting place, we bring water to the tree from places we care for.
Kofi Annan sent a warmly welcome to the children 2001 when the children's meeting place was held here on UN.
from the small island of Cyprus near Turkey. The Mediterranean Sea and Atlantic Ocean meet here. This reminds us the water will always come back together, no matter where in the world. Now we must come together and do our bit in making the planet a cleaner, safer, and more peaceful environment for humankind. But more importantly, for the life that was here before us and the generations to come. So please, stop dreaming, take action, and make it happen, because this is the only place we have left.
This water is from the Yarra River, Australia. To me, water represents harmony and peace, however, brings chaos and destruction. If we don't change our ways now, the full effects of climate change will happen. Ice caps will melt, and the city of Melbourne, along with other coastal regions in Australia, will be flooded. My children's children will think of my home city of Melbourne, Australia, as many of us think of Atlantis. I urge you, the world leaders, to listen to your youth and make a change, because you have the power.
My water is from a small part of the French Broad River. I chose this place because the water was extracted from right between where the beautiful and glistening waterfalls meet the river. This place, to me, is a safe haven, because when I arrive, I feel tranquil and peaceful. For me, this place is the only place I can truly call home when I am in times of despair. This spectacular place, this spectacular place instills hope. Hope that one day we'll be able to put aside our differences as leaders, put aside our differences as people with our religions and everything else, so that we can come together as one to fight this current stage that our water is at. Everywhere around us, we see horrific dump sites where water should be clean and beautiful. So please, for me and for everyone else around the world, let's transcend this current state of damnation to make a better world, if not for my generation, for the next and the ones after it. Because eventually, if we don't do anything about it now, there won't be a world to live in.
My water is from Oman, and when I drink it or hold it, I think of my favorite place to be with my grandparents, Al-Sharqiyah.
My water comes from Dandora, one of the biggest slums here in Kenya. And in Dandora, we have one of the biggest dam sites in the whole of Africa. I would like in future to see that the River Nile, which most of the people in the dam site use it for drinking and cooking and washing their clothes, is clean. In this bowl, children from all over the world have united their water from their homes, water that unites us all. Children of the whole world children from all over the world have come together to give water from places they love most.
Astronauts and cosmonauts brought water that traveled in space. Papa Kofi Annan from the United Nations also brought us water from the fountain at the UN in New York City, where he worked. There were only adults invited to bring water to our uniting water ceremony.
In our hands, we have water uniting all people from all over the world. This reminds us to share our water with people, animals, and plants, so that all of us have access to clean water, to keep our water safe and do a very good job at it, and to finally care for our water together as a collective.
We've brought this water to share and care our home planet Earth. We call this water our uniting water.
We want to know what happens to our water, the water in the clouds above us, the water in the ground beneath us. We want to know what happens to our water that makes us and all animals and plants live. We are the future, and we know the fate of the world is in our hands. Let us join. You can count on us. Let us join, let us join. You can count on us. Let us join, let us join, let us join, let us join. You can count on us. Let us join, let us join, let us join. You can count on us. Let us join, let us join, let us join, let us join. You can count on us. Drops that light deceives, that shows all over the world. May we be the raindrops that unite the waves that go all over the world. Let us join, let us join, let us join, let us join. You can count on us. Let us join, let us join, let us join, let us join. You can count on us.
Here. Where's the mic?
Please, come and plant with us. Mama Ingen, Mama Joyce, Papa Sim, and Papa Ula.
These seedlings are from the mother tree.
You come up now, you need to give them space, otherwise they won't. So please come up.
So what's happening now is that they're going to take these children of the mother tree and they're going to plant it in this new. Three months ago, the seedlings were seeds under the mother tree.
So 3 months ago, these were seeds from the mother tree that has been with us here at the United Nations since 2001, when it was inaugurated by Dr. Klaus Töpfer. And now you will wait, because you shall also get our united water and water the plants. So all children from all nations of the whole world have united water. So you give them now 1 cup each when they will water the plant from the children of the mother tree here at the United Nations. And this will also be in memory of the tragic start of UNEA 4, to honor them with the seedlings of the children of the mother tree. So please give the United Water to all the very important people of UNEP and UNEA. And then we will hum. Hamba da humbaya, da humbaya, da humbaya, ah humbaya, ah humbaya, da humbaya, da humbaya. And now you will water the one that you were planting, and one after the other, we want you now to give a statement to the children once you do that. So we start with Mama Joyce. Yeah? Mama Joyce will start, and then you say a statement to the children.
Thank you. To all the children, thank you. Thank you for reminding us about what we are supposed to take care of. We promise to do our part. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you, and I promise to plant 10 more trees in my home country, Estonia.
Thank you very, very much. I've been sitting in a borrowed office this last week, and my window has been open, and I have heard you practicing, and you just are amazing. So thank you for entertaining me the whole week and for entertaining this assembly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I promise to be responsible, and I promise to do everything I can with the positions I have to combat global warming, to stop plastic from entering our seas, and to preserve nature and to restore nature. And I also promise to do it with optimism and belief. Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much. And now you escort them down, so they are helped down from the podium. Come, come, come. Come, come, come. You will now sing here. You come here and sing. And now you bring this water to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
There's a place in your hearts, and I know that it is love. In this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you'll feel there's no heart or sorrow. There are ways to get there. If you care enough for the living, make a little space. Make a better place. Heal the world. Make it a better place. For you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world. Make it a better place. For you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world. Make it a better place. For you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying.
If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. You and for me. You and for me.
You
and for me.
Mama and Papa, who is your leader from your country? Open your hand.
The head of delegation. You will get something. Head of delegation, put out your hand, open your hand.
Now you will get seeds from the mother tree.
So now you open your hand. The one who is head of delegation will get seeds from the mother tree. And then what happens?
Find a place together with a child for the seed to grow.
When you plant the seed, make a promise.
Send your promise together with the photo to UNEP.
Send a photo of you and the child planting.
Invite the children in your country to join the future vessel.
Inaugurate a tree in your city.
Join the UNEA to celebrate the 50th birthday in 2022, World Environmental Day. Welcome!
Okay, you go, head of delegation will get the seed, and we all just sing, let us join, and that's a farewell and welcome to the World Environment Day 2022. Okay.
Yes.
Let us join.
Let us join, let us join, let us join. You can count on us.
Let us join, let us join, let us join, let us join. You can count
on us. Let us join, let us join, let us join, let us join. You can count
on us. Let us join, let us join.
Let us join, let us join. You can count on us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.
Bye.
Now I'm leaving. We go.
I'm the Australian High Commissioner here in Kenya. So you were saying you brought the water from Yarra. I messed up my part.
No, but with the video show. No. Linda said no video. Well, what about Joyce? Ladies and gentlemen, I now wish to turn your attention to the screens above as the President of the General Assembly, Her Excellency Ms. Maria Fernanda Espinosa, has prepared a special video message for the Environment Assembly.
Your Excellency Mr. Sim Kislev, President of the 4th United Nations Environment Assembly, Your Excellency Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Hujambo. At the outset, on behalf of the General Assembly, I would like to express my deepest sympathy and sincere condolences to the families, friends, and colleagues of the victims of the Ethiopian Airlines plane crash on Sunday. In these times of grief and sorrow, my full solidarity to the governments and peoples of Ethiopia and Kenya, as well as other member states affected by this tragedy. Excellencies, since its creation by the General Assembly in 2012, the UN Environment Assembly has become the preeminent forum for multilateral action on environmental issues. Climate change, desertification, loss of biodiversity, pollution, resource efficiency, all these issues are existential for millions of people and for the planet as a whole. So it is most appropriate that we now have a dedicated universal forum where we can take the difficult decisions necessary to make the Paris Agreement and Agenda 2030 a reality for present and future generations. Almost two-thirds of the Sustainable Development Targets maturing in 2020 depend on environmental action. The UN Environment Programme's Measuring Progress report in 2019 makes it clear that we will not achieve the environmental dimensions of the goals without significant effort and improved data. And of course, the goals are interdependent. Our vision of a safer, fairer, and more sustainable future is at risk. We need to pick up the pace and fast. It is not acceptable that nearly 90% of the world's marine fish stocks are overexploited or depleted, but that 1 in every 3 fish caught are thrown out before they reach someone's plate. It is alarming that in 2025, in just 6 years' time, 1.8 billion people are said to experience absolute water scarcity. Against this backdrop, this session of the UNEA is particularly important. It is a flashpoint for each of us to reflect on how we can accelerate action on pollution, resource efficiency, and environmental protection to ensure development that is truly sustainable. Last month, the Food and Agriculture Organization published a study of the plants, animals, and microorganisms on which we depend for food. It concluded that food insecurity will rise dramatically due to the fact that a quarter of wild food species are under threat and key ecosystems are declining. How can we maintain livelihoods, jobs, and our economies, the ingredients we need to lift people out of poverty, when entire regions suffer from droughts, pollution, or poor land use? And how can we fight antimicrobial resistance when the forests that have given us so many medicines are being destroyed before we even know what is in them? Every year that passes without decisive action makes Agenda 2030 more elusive. Every opportunity that we pass up puts our future at risk. Dear friends, the theme of this year's assembly is most timely. How do we employ innovative solutions to environmental challenges and sustainable consumption and production? In short, how can we think outside the box to find the solutions that are needed? One answer is staring us in the face, harnessing rapid advances in technologies and their potential to leapfrog and transform societies. As we stumble into the 4th industrial revolution, it is imperative that member states work with tech companies, civil society, and young people to make sure we harness this vital opportunity. There are many innovative ideas and projects out there, waiting for funding, waiting to be scaled up and supported with decisive policies. Our host city of Nairobi is home to a vibrant, innovative hub and series of centers that provide hope and opportunity for youth and future generations. As President of the General Assembly, I have put special emphasis on environmental protection, decent work, and youth. This year's Environment Assembly brings all three together, with its emphasis on investment in education for the green-collar jobs we will need in the future. UNDP estimates that must empower young entrepreneurs to unlock this potential. I plan to follow up deliberations in Nairobi with a high-level meeting on climate and sustainable development for all in New York on 28th of March. This event will focus specifically on the intergenerational elements of climate change. Young people have been at the vanguard of climate action. They truly understand the scale and urgency of what is needed, and they are worried. In March, I will give them the floor to outline their concern as well as their ideas and solutions. And this summer, together with Antigua and Barbuda, Norway, and the Lonely Well Initiative, plus UN Environment and the UN Office for Partnerships, I will host a special event in Antigua to help move the needle on plastic pollution. This event will showcase new and exciting initiatives that we hope will help galvanize action. I invite you all to join us. In closing, let me extend this plea to delegates here today. Raise your ambition on environmental action. Unlock opportunities of the green economy. Think outside the box on plastic pollution. Build partnerships with the private sector, with civil society, and with youth groups. And above all else, remember that innovation requires risk. Let us not be the generation that chose not to act because we were worried about breaking the mold. Thank you. Your President of the 4th United Nations Environment Assembly.
Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all. I thank the members of the bureaus, the Secretariat, and all the delegates. I thank you all. It has been our joint effort, and what we have achieved today is our joint achievement. It has been a fantastic journey, and I found so many great friends on that journey. Let's celebrate, let's enjoy the results. The meeting of the Assembly is closed.